Hey everybody, check it out. What's up? It's Hercules Porsche's professional intro. Yay!
Noobs! I guess today we're gonna have a bunch of newbies playing Battle Station. Now people without Season Pass can finally purchase the DLC for themselves. Yeah. Hey, what's up everybody? It's Hercules Porsche here, also known as Good Luck on Xbox Live. And in today's video is called Battle Station for Noobs. And before we get to the deeply insightful tips, here's how you start Battle Station. You go to the Death Star DLC, you hit X to select mode, and then you scroll over to Battle Station and you hit select. Okay, you had to know that. You had to know that because this is called Battle Station for Noobs. And you newbies, you don't want to end up in cruddy fighter squadron or blast mode, do you? No, I thought not. Anyway, as you can see in the footage, I have fairly early on picked up the hero token, which allows you to we are in the phase 1 of Battle Station, and let me go over how this phase 1 of Battle Station is won. First of all, here we are, we're in the Y-wing damage phase. Now how you win Battle Station is we have to destroy this reactor that's in front of us, the 2 generators that are on top. Then once those are both destroyed, we blow up the bridge. And that's how you win phase 1 of Battle Station. Yeah. Now, if you're any kind of a brain at all, you might be thinking, well, what's the best way to do that? Well, I'm going to show you. As you can see, I have taken the Millennium Falcon and I'm using it to damage the reactor. And let me explain to you why that helps my team out a whole lot. I do definitely recommend that this reactor is your first target. And the reason for that, the reactor has the most hit points of any subsystem. And it's also got great coverage because it's beneath the Star Destroyer. So while those 2 generators on the top are still up, there probably aren't going to be a whole lot of TIE fighters looking at that spot typically because they all spawn above it, and they'll probably go directly to the generators to guard that. So in the vast majority of games you will actually see the generators pop before the reactor because they have so much fewer hit points, and just your team just tends to kind of be pointed at them at the start. But I say just slip under here, start damaging this reactor on the bottom. And as you can see here, having the Millennium Falcon helps a whole lot. I am damaging down that reactor way faster in the Millennium Falcon than I would have in just a regular X-Wing or A-Wing. And by the way, I do prefer the see, yeah, that reactor pops so much faster. If I tried to just do that with the regular X-Wing, it would have taken quite a while. But yeah, if you don't get the Millennium Falcon, I do recommend the X-Wing. Well, it's just my preferred craft. I just prefer having shields to having a little speed boost, but that's just me. You can use whatever works for you. But the speed boost can be handy if you think it'll help you reach the objectives in time during the Y-wing phase. But I just prefer the shields overall. And yeah, so don't be selfish if you do end up with the Millennium Falcon. Oh, and here I am, I'm crashing into the Slave One, so that's going to end my little damage streak with the Falcon. Yeah, but don't be selfish if you have it. Definitely use it to damage those objectives. Don't be a dummy and fly, way onto the other side of the map and or crash into a rock, or just get the thing blown up. Use it to hunt those objectives. I know you might be tempted to use it to pad your KD, but if you want to go home with the win, you've really got to hit those objectives. And when you don't have the Falcon, start working on that too. The other thing that's helpful is, as you can see, they're in between the Y-wing phases. there is a counter that counts the number of enemy fighter craft killed. So during those phases, if you have a strategy to kill enemy TIE fighters or TIE interceptors quickly, that'll shorten the amount of time that your team has in between Y-wing phases. So that's great if you can kill a bunch of enemy fighters while that counter is on the top. But the main thing you really want to be focusing on is making sure you're in good shape to hit the enemy subsystems as hard as possible when they're vulnerable. That's the main thing. So you've got to make kind of an educated decision, when they're vulnerable. Do you want to clear out a few ties before you hit that thing so that you might have a little more room to maneuver, or do you just want to take whatever opening you have and just do whatever damage you can with it? That's just a decision you have to make for yourself.
That destroyer is moving on our last cruise.
See, some of those TIE fighters are not piloted by people, and it helps take them out. See, whoever's piloting that Millennium Falcon, he's being a dummy. He's, you can see I'm in a giant, this is not where you want to be right now, where my X-Wing. You don't want to be in a giant swarm of enemy craft like I am. I flew in to try and support him, but he was being a dummy, so I'm only lasting as long as I have because I got the shields and because I'm flying around like a maniac. Obviously, don't do anything dumb like just fly in a straight line without your shields up. That's gonna get you killed pretty quickly if there's any ties in the vicinity. And also, hopefully, you guys have adjusted to the new lock-on system that was updated after the last patch. So yeah, don't lock on to nothing, because that wastes your lock-on time and can trigger a lock-on cooldown. Also, take note of how far away I am from the Star Destroyer before I can start damaging it. You can start damaging these objectives from reasonably far out, so definitely take note of that. And that's the bridge destroyed, and we'll be transitioning into Phase 2. So in Phase 2, our objective is to grab R2-D2 and take him off of the station. Now, before I talk about how to win the actual game mode, let me take a minute to start and talk about some of the better star card choices. Now, you want to pick star cards that work in this kind of more close quarters environment. And also a blaster that works better in this close quarters environment, whatever your preferred blaster is. I'm using the TL50 repeater just because it's new content and I like the weapon's alt fire sometimes. But you really can use whatever blaster you think you will excel with in this sort of close quarters combat. Now, luckily today I will be picking up a hero token, and since Chewbacca was already taken, I shall be going as Han Solo. I'll pick up a nice little streak here. Now, let's talk about the actual objectives and winning of the game. Now, as we've started out, we have R2-D2 on the opposite side of the battle station. And our objective is to get to R2-D2, trigger him, and bring him back to where we started. And unfortunately I can't do that right now because I am playing as a hero. But so somebody who's a grunt has to go in there and trigger R2-D2. And once you do, you take control of him, and you will have the option to... Ooh, that's a nice triple. You'll have the option to control him and switch sides. And once somebody gets this initial control of him, the spawning is going to swap, and your whole team will spawn where those stormtroopers are spawning currently, and where I'm slaughtering them from. And then you'll be pushing to get back where you started the match from. So, oh man, that was a good streak. So anyway, yeah, somebody has gone up to R2-D2, activated him. So that player has taken control of R2-D2. His infantry unit no longer exists on the field, and he's now moving R2-D2. Now, I'm not going to show you how to do it in this video because I've already released like 3 different videos on controlling R2-D2. And I have a video, it's just called How to Control R2-D2, and I highly recommend you check it out. But just some quick tips. This route that R2-D2 is going down right now is not ideal. It's very open, exposed. My team is going to make it work because we're just like enough of a powerhouse team that we can push through this open area. But we're getting stalled here because it's just not a great spot. So if you control R2-D2, I definitely recommend the right side of the station facing towards the extraction rather than the left side where we are now. R2-D2 does have a bunch of abilities, the main ones being the scanner, which you should be using constantly, and the overheat, which is very handy. But don't forget you can sprint R2. Yes, I know I had 1 million people messaging me about the fact that you could sprint R2. I'm fully aware of it now. You can hold down your whatever normal technique you use to sprint, you can use it to sprint R2. So make sure you are aware of that. My last little note is whoever is partnered with R2 can spawn right on him. So if you happen to be partnered with R2, definitely keep that in mind. But that is all I want to say about R2 because I have done a bunch of other videos on that. I just wanted to touch on that quickly because it is so incredibly important that R2 be controlled effectively. And if you're not controlling R2, just give him all the support you possibly can. But yeah, back to the star cards. You can see I'm using a personal shield, and that lets me get through these like dangerous little sections. It's also great if I need to pick up a hero token or I need to rescue R2. I quite like Barrage because there's a lot of times where enemies will end up clustered together in a small hallway and they can't really move around or navigate well, so they're kind of a lot more vulnerable to Barrage than they normally would be. And I quite like the back to bomb because for because it kind of works the opposite way. It's very common you see in situations like this where your team will be clustered together, and you can give your entire team like a plus 30 health bonus, like a good little chunk of them plus yourself. And there's also a lot of cover, so if you take damage, it's very easy to get behind cover and back to bomb and get yourself back in the action very quickly. I also have another star card set which has a scanner and thermal grenade and a scatter gun. So those are all great things to have. I definitely recommend one star card set with a personal shield and another star card set that's more offensive, like it has a scanner or something. But you just use whatever you think will work in CQC, but definitely make sure you have come here with good star cards and you offer R2-D2 good support and you get him off the station. Now we are going to have the finale of Battle Station, which is of course the infamous trench run. Now, by the way, I know I've been offering all my tips to how to win as rebels. If you were playing as Imperials for those first 2 sections, just consider letting the rebels win. Just consider letting the rebels win, because who does not want to have the epicness of the Death Star trench run? But seriously, if you were playing as Imperial, the counters should have been pretty obvious, just based on what I have told you. The same star cards I mentioned, if you're playing Imperial, work as Imperial. Anyway, yeah, but let the rebels win until this phase, and then go to town. So as you can see, there's a checkpoint that has popped up. So this is the very first checkpoint. Take note of where this is. Fortunately, it looks like I'm going to be struggling to get to this other checkpoint. I think I was supposed to go under that little hood there, but anyway. Take note of where that first checkpoint was. Kind of have that in your mind because that's what starts up the Death Star Trench Run. Now, the Death Star Trench Run is basically 12 checkpoints. 3 of the fighters from the Rebel team are going to be assigned to fly through those checkpoints. And if you can make all 12 checkpoints, and fire a torpedo into the exhaust port, then you win the trench run. However, you do not have to fly all 12 checkpoints in one run, and it'll be very rare to actually see a game that concludes with one pilot flying all 12 checkpoints. Because if your team manages to make a certain stretch of the Death Star Trench Run, you don't have to start from square one. There are certain kind of like, I guess, checkpoints? I don't know. There's a certain amount of backtracking you'll be forced to do, but you won't be forced to do it from square one. It's divided into about 3 sections. So if your 3 fighters get blown up, you get backtracked to whatever the last third of a section is. So you'll see it as you watch the footage. So right now I should be trying to move to cover the assigned fighters. And they're making it into the trenches all right. I'm trying to find an angle to target enemy craft, which might be going after my fighters. Now, some of them are going to be dopey, obviously. A lot of them will have no idea how to get in the trenches, or they just won't care. You can see I've got a lot of assigned fighters just not ending up in the trenches. You got derpy teammates. You're going to see it quite a bit. Now, this actually really surprised me. I did not think that I could get assigned to be in the trench run when I had low health, because this has actually never happened to me before, but apparently that's a real possibility. So I basically I knew I was, I had a big target on my back, so I just flew around like a nutcase. Trying to create a little distance, but we're already back down to, they took out our assigned fighters pretty quickly there. But also there are hero vessels, which I had never really played as them. I think I flew by Darth Vader's TIE earlier in the footage, but if you happen to get Luke's TIE fighter, it's pretty decently likely that you will end up being assigned to do the trench run. And you'll have a much better chance of doing it because you have an extra little ability on your X-Wing, which is R2's repair. So that gives you a much better survival odds, I guess you can say. But yeah, I will let you watch the rest of this footage here. But I think I've covered the Death Star Trench Run pretty well.
Take out the ties targeting our fighters in the trench.
Let's see, we have a bunch of dopey people on our team who just aren't flying anywhere near the checkpoint. I know it's right around here where I'm flying, but these guys are just like, la la, the trench run? What's a trench run? I'm just gonna fly wherever I feel like it. And I don't know, they're not paying attention to either the kill feed or the mission little thingy at the top. But so those guys, I'm not moving to support them. I'm trying to keep the first checkpoint clear so that I don't have a bunch of enemy ties flying around where the trench run is going to start. Now we have one guy, he's starting to make the trench run.
A TIE advance just took off. It's Darth Vader.
Alright, so he's hit the first 4 checkpoints, so that's progress. Well, we should not get reset past where we are right now, or where we were when I started talking about it. Let's see, how much more progress is he going to make? Okay, so we had finally had a competent guy in the trenches. He's been taken out. All these people getting assigned as like Red 2 and stuff, they're the wingmen who are being spawned on R5, which is Luke Skywalker's X-Wing. So yeah, I'm trying to cover this guy right here. I know there's going to be heaps of TIE fighters following him, so it gives me lots of opportunities to grab kills. And we're going to be flying into the heart of the Death Star. I know know that the trench run does not look exactly like it did in the first movie. It's kind of a weird mix of the first and third movie. But yeah, I'm going to be heading back in there in the off chance I get assigned. I do get assigned, but unfortunately this is a little sad. There was a TIE fighter waiting for me in the guts. So I was assigned to the trench run, but I got knocked out right away by someone who was in there waiting for me. You never get assigned back to back, as I'm sure you've seen. I'm definitely not going to get assigned in this. So yeah, I'm not going to get assigned in this batch of trench runners because they never do it back to back. So just continue with trying to keep my guys covered, even though they continue to not try to fly near the checkpoint or in the trench.
We've lost our squad in the trench. Prepare for another
Oh, someone's picked up the hero token in that red 5 now. You see, it's very dicey right now. My team only has 2 more minutes to get this done, but we do also have only the 3 checkpoints left. So, you know, the probability of winning is, you know, it's kind of up in the air. It's going to depend a lot on somebody reasonably intelligent getting picked to do the trench run. And this, where I'm flying in the trench, has nothing to do with the objectives. It's just for cover at this point. I believe one of our trench runners has blown himself up. He has crashed into a wall. I wouldn't be special if it was that freaking easy, I guess. So I have very little health. What's gonna happen here, I wonder, with less than 1 minute left to go before my team runs out of time? And it looks like I have been picked to do the trench run. So watch where that checkpoint is. That's where it starts. Kind of memorize that location if you can. And I have to try to, flying here is tricky. I can't fly in a straight line or they'll make locking onto me too easy. My shield's about to run out, and I lock on, launch the torpedo. Oh, did I miss? I guess I get extra torpedoes, I don't know. And did anything happen? Of course it did. Blammo! And that was the Death Star trench run complete. And that was actually my first time doing it not as Red 5. But yeah, now you have seen the whole thing. You have a bevy of tips to help you complete Battle Station, and I hope I've given you a great helping hand in figuring out how to beat this mode, something to think about. Remember guys, I welcome all of your feedback. It really helps me build my videos. And here's the stats. And anyway, until next time, I shall see you Starside.